1700s. And the French and Indian War, they were used in the early Revolution as well. Yep. How you doing, bud? How are you? Good. You come back here and give it a shot.
Okay. Sometimes when I get these sort of chatter marks from my liner kind of skipping down the line, like that, I'll take the same tool and just kind of burnish the line so that all those little chatter marks are now smooth. Sometimes I use oil doing that, just to make it go a little bit easier. Get the bottom of this cheese wheel. And one of these different liners. Oh, that's too big.
Kind of a cheating round. What I'm trying to do is compress that top edge down just with the flat, and then I'm going to go back with the peen and really force it in the spot and smooth it out. I'm actually going to switch to that. So I use a lot of different hammers along with a lot of different stakes. You know, if I need to swing harder with one hammer, I can either do that with my body, or I can pick up a heavier hammer or a hammer with a longer handle. And really what I want to do is maintain the exact same body movement all day so I can keep going longer. So if I need a light tap, I go for a light hammer. I'm constantly changing out the tools so I don't tire myself out too much. I can have 7 or 8 different hammering stakes to work on. I feel like a DJ or a drummer, and I can jump around from one to the other.
But move it up about a half a width and then hit it again. So it's just a continuation of little bites. And actually on these roses I found that it looks better, I think, with the little rough bites in the end. When I hammer that out, it gives it that roughness around the edge. You can make a really smooth line if you go slow and go back and forth several times. You can really kind of polish that. If you got that leaf pattern that's going around, if you got little bitty curves down in there, you may have to make one that's half the width of this. Okay? If you got questions, we'll try to find somebody to answer them. But I'm just going to come in and start making a noise. A friend of mine said there was 2 things that a blacksmith could go to hell for. That was hitting cold metal and not charging enough. So we're going to do both. So I'm just going to hold it with my fingers, just come in and tap it and go around. And you just continue on around. I'm supposed to have on my glasses, I guess. So for the sake of watching paint dry, so it comes out pretty, I mean, it goes faster than you'd think, okay? So what I'm going to do is, as I start to make this, I'm going to put, sometimes I get ahead of myself and I have to backtrack. I'm going to forge this out and then put a 4-leaf down into a 5. There's 2 pieces and a little piece on the bottom. So I'll have 9 petals for that volume. Okay, and before I bloom it out, this is getting a little bit ahead, but before I blossom it out, like the first one that went around, I should have sent this one with it, but we'll send them again if you need to. This one is still closed up. This is kind of the way I close them up. Then I'll come back and take my knife and open it up. Hopefully I can show a lot of other people. And one thing is anvil height. It's kind of a misconception from my way of thinking, and I try to give you reasons rather than just saying, you know, you do it just because. Where's that water, Tom? Thank you. And the old books would tell you to here I got the water and I ain't gonna drink it. A lot of the books would tell you to stand up straight, ball your fists up, and the anvil height should be right here at your knuckles. In my opinion, that's way too low. That might work for bigger material, you know, when they hit bigger stock, hitting with sledgehammers or whatever. But the anvil top needs to be hit right here on this wrist bone. And when you come up to the anvil to check that, a lot of people walk up there and say, yeah, that's good, you know. So stand up straight, and when you stand up beside it, it ought to hit right there. That brings your hammer, when you're using your hammer, that brings it down parallel to the face of the anvil, so you get flatter, square parts. You're also at a good height to have that lift, and then another thing is the way you hold the hammer. You want to catch it. It's going to be weird to you, but I've had several retired carpenters that, you know, after they took my class, they'd say, man, that really helped. So I've got to touch a carpal tunnel, and you probably will too if you don't have. But hold that hammer. I call this a pork chop of your hand right here. Catch that hammer in that V, and then with the hammer down sideways, and then turn your hand up, leave your knuckle on top. That lets your wrist move without hitting a limit other than the tendons there. If you do it this way, you're going to end up going against that joint here. There's a stop to that joint. You're going to go against that stop and end up wrecking your wrist. The other thing is stop it. Let the hammer fall. When it hits, what little bit of bounce you get, let it come back and start your acceleration back up. And it'll only work, or it needs to only work, at the speed that it'll bounce, like bouncing a basketball. When you bounce a ball from up here, there's a certain rhythm. When you get down here, the rhythm's faster. But it's that natural bounce. And so if you'll let that hammer do the work as it bounces, and don't try to control it. Don't try to jerk it up and push it down. Let it bounce at its own rhythm, depending on how hard you're hitting. Then you can hammer for hours. Another thing I do is that I cut all my handles down into a elongated, what's that called? A rectangle. Yeah, octagon. I actually make it in a rectangle, and then I kill the corners. So when you bend your fingers, there's flats between those stem, for instance. And I'm generally in this case, I'm wanting this to elongate and get smaller here. So it's to my advantage, the faster the rhythm. And if it was a heavier blow, then it would slow it down, just like bouncing a ball. But if I try to control that hammer, it won't be but just a few minutes. This muscle will be burning right here, and you'll want it to be doing something different. Sometimes I'll leave a little bit of thickness in this because I'm going to come in with another hammer and put some texture in it. So and it's going to actually spread it this way because of the way I'm putting the texture. It's going to give me some width. So, but that's how much length I got out of that little short pedal from just that. And most of my material was moved in the direction I wanted it to go. Had I hit that with a round hammer, I wouldn't have got as much length because some of my mass would have been squirted out here to width.